So, International Coaching Week is coming to an end, and the goal of International Coaching Week was to celebrate the power and impact of coaching. So, to do that, I interviewed 10 amazing coaches this week, 2 a day, Monday through Friday. You can find those interviews on my YouTube channel or my Instagram at Leah Farmer Coaching. And I wanted to just take a minute and share a little of what I learned, but also tell a little of my own story as well as a coach. So, I asked everyone how they came to coaching, so I'll answer that question. I would say I came to coaching as a leader, right? So a person who had led teams and hired people and tried to grow really high potential people into great future leaders. And then during the pandemic, I was working at a startup in Berlin. And some founders reached out to me and asked me if I would coach their product managers. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then a couple of product managers approached me separately and said, hey, would you be my mentor or my coach? And I said, okay, I could do that. So I started coaching. I was coaching 4 or 5 people kind of throughout the 2 years of the pandemic on the side, right? While doing my very, very busy day job. And then when I left that job and I moved to the UK and I joined Google, and I hated working at Google, every minute of it. I left Google and could not imagine going back to work for anyone else for a while. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do some coaching. At the same time, I was taking a coaching course because I wanted to learn some real tools and get some education around coaching, because I was sort of a coach who was flying by the seat of her pants and coaching as a leader instead of as a coach. I also have had a great coach or two in my day. I've had bosses who were great coaches, but I've also had a coach, like an actual professional coach. And what I love about the coaching relationship is that the person who is being coached has the answer. They are the keeper of the wisdom. And what you're doing as a coach is really drawing it out of them. So when it was me being coached, the answers were in me, and my coach was helping me sort of draw it out. And when I'm coaching someone else, I'm just there to hold the container so that they can grow and find the answer to whatever the question is, whatever that question is, whether it's a life question or relationship question or career question or a boundary question or whatever. They have the answer, and I'm there to hold the container and ask questions and find the threads, right? The other question I asked everyone was about what myth or belief about coaching they would dispel if they could. And what we heard a lot of the coaches say was that everyone needs a coach sometimes. So it's not even done something wrong to need a coach, right? Like, it is important. People need coaches. I think everyone should have a coach. And then the idea that we get stuck in our head thinking that the coach has some sort of magical answer to our question. Just like I said, the answer's in you. And I absolutely love the moment when a client working with me realizes they have the answer, they are trustworthy, and they can move forward. I've described this before, that like there's this light bulb moment when a client who you're coaching says, oh yeah, I know what to do. And their shoulders come back and their head comes up and the light comes on. And that is the most beautiful moment as a coach for me. And it's this moment where the person is like, oh, I can trust myself. And I love that because I trust myself, and I want you to trust yourself, and I want my coachees to trust themselves. We are trustworthy with our own story, but sometimes we need someone to help us retell it to ourselves first and then to others, right? And so that is where I specialize, right? So I asked people what their specialty was, who their favorite customer, what their ideal client was. I specialize in people who have had their confidence shaken, who maybe have stopped trusting themselves, who want something different. And that something could be anything. It could be career or life or relationship. I do work a lot with tech folks, right? And they really want to figure that out so that they can take the next step in the direction of their own joy and happiness and fulfillment and challenge, right? And that's where I specialize. I specialize in listening to your story and then giving it back to you and saying, is that your story? And so often people are like, that is my story. It's like we forget how beautiful our stories are, right? And so that is what I specialize in. It's what I love. It's what I love to do. And I really do think that there are some, there is this idea out there that everyone's a life coach. And I'm like, can you just say you're a life coach and become one? Sure. But a lot of us have put in time and money and training and effort and practice in order to really hold the space in a way that is honoring to you as the client, in a way that is responsible, because we are not therapists and mental health professionals, in a way that is warm and inviting and invites you to bring your whole self, because I brought my whole self to that conversation. And that is not something that I just knew. It is something that I had pieces of, but that the education and the practice and being around other great coaches brought together for me. And so that's the myth I want to dispel, that every coach is created equally, because they're not. There are some really, really great coaches out there. And I've had the good fortune of knowing some of them and being coached by some of them. And so part of the reason I did this week of coaches was because I wanted you to see that there's just a variety of coaches who show up in different ways and do coaching in different ways. And so I hope you got something from that. And finally, what I saw over the course of talking to these 10 lovely people is a group of people who really, really want to open the space for you as the coachee to step into and find your answer. I didn't hear anyone say, I'm going to give people answers. It's not what we do. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that you learned something new from these 10 people, 11 counting me. And I hope that you feel worthy of having your own coach for anything you want to have a coach for. There's no special, only executives get coaches, or only potential leaders get coaches, or no, you can have a coach. If you're a kid coming out of university and you're trying to figure out what that looks like, you deserve a coach. If you're a new mom who's wrestling with, how do I hold all of this together and what does it look like, you deserve a coach. If you have struggled with addiction in the past and really worked on that, but you want someone to really help you talk about it and have boundaries around it, you deserve a coach. If you want to get out of a toxic work environment because it is crushing your soul, you deserve a coach. There's no reason not to have a coach if you need one. And there are so many of us who do it in different ways. There are so many of us who have sliding scales who will enable you if you can't afford a certain kind of coach. There are those of us, including me, who have a sliding scale to make it possible, because I don't think money should be a reason why you don't get good coaching. There are a lot of people that are learning how to coach, who are practicing, who have great skills, but just need people to practice with, who would love to do it for free or for a really low price. There's room for you to get coached. I have a coach. I have a coach because a coach needs a coach, right? And so I just want to say, you deserve a coach. So if you want one, come get one. I could coach you. One of these 10 people could coach you. There are so many amazing people out there that are great coaches. One tip: if you want somebody who has a certain amount of education, has a certain amount of practice hours, etc., you can go to the International Coaching Federation website and look for coaches, and they will, if they're certified, you will see that. If you go to Life Coach Directory or NewMe or any of those, they should also note if someone is certified, and that gives you an indication that they have had a certain amount of education, a certain amount of practice hours, and passed an exam. Now, am I belittling coaches who don't do that? Of course not. Some of the coaches that I talked to this week have not done that. That does not minimize their skill or their ability, but you need to be thoughtful and ask questions about what gives them the qualification to be a coach. That's a fair question to ask anyone that you're going to take coaching from. I hope that this was a helpful week to you. I hope that you understand the power and impact of coaching just a little bit better. And if I can be of any help, feel free to message me. Again, you can find me at leahfarmer.com. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. I am findable, utterly, completely findable. So please reach out if you need coaching or if you need some tips on finding a coach. Have a great weekend.